Well, hello, and we're continuing in John's Gospel. Remember the last one of these on John's Gospel? We're in chapter 4. Jesus meeting the woman at Samaria. We just gave general background to the whole thing. And I think one of the key points is that this woman gets a better understanding of Jesus than Nicodemus did. Now, Nicodemus is the theologically educated person. This woman is just a sinner. She's had 5 husbands, as we'll learn later on. She's had 5 husbands, and I think it's 5, might be 6, I can't remember. She's had a load of them. And now she's living with someone. And she's a Samaritan, which the Jews did not think highly of, to say the least. And yet she, in a sense, understands more. I said the key to knowing Jesus and appreciating who Jesus is, one of the keys is being aware of our own unworthiness, our own sinfulness. And we'll see here a progression. If it's evangelism or it's teaching and preaching, so often we'd like people, right? We just tell them the truth, they get the truth. Hey! It doesn't work like that. Or very rarely works like that. Normally there's a progression, there's a process going from step by step. And we'll see here how this works with Jesus and the woman. Anyway, we'll do a few, possibly up to verse 15, we'll see. Let's just work through it. Let's first of all just read 4, 7 and 8. And again, as usual, my readings on this one will be from the ESV. A woman from Samaria came to draw water. Jesus said to her, "Give me a drink." His disciples had gone away into the city to buy food. So, as we'd already mentioned, coming at midday wasn't normal. People normally came in the morning or in the evening to get water. So midday, you've got the heat. So this implied the woman came there either because she didn't want to meet people, or possibly because of her reputation. She'd been shunned by people. So she came at a quiet time. And she was not seeking God. She just come there to get water. But Jesus was seeking her. That's just an important point to remember. And he speaks to her. That was a shock. Jewish men didn't tend to speak to women. They had a very low opinion of women. And she was a Samaritan woman. And also Jesus, being Jesus, would know what her past was. And not just her past, her present. Not the sort of person you would choose to meet with. If you're a fine, upstanding religious person. But if you're Jesus, things are different. Also, the disciples are out of the way. You know, there are times when God needs us to get us out of the way. And he can get on with stuff. And then draws us back in to get involved. But we need to realise God's plans and his ways of working are far better and far more loving, far more compassionate, far more, I wouldn't say judgmental. They will be as well. Judgment and compassion go together with God. We think they're separate. We are wrong. God's right. Anyway, the disciples are out of the way. Jesus said to her, "Give me a drink." So let's read 9 and 10. The Samaritan woman said to him, "How is it that you, a Jew, ask for a drink from me, a woman of Samaria? For Jews have no dealings with Samaritans." That bit was at least in brackets in the ESV version. It wasn't the woman saying that Jews have no dealings with Samaritans, which they didn't have. Jesus answered her, "If you knew the gift of God and who it is that is saying to you, 'Give me a drink,' you would have asked him, and he would have given you living water." She was viewing Jesus at this point from a purely human perspective. And if we view Jesus from a purely human perspective, we'll miss it. We won't appreciate who he really is. Jesus is far greater than that. Jesus says here, if you knew who I really was, you'd be asking me for a drink. And Jesus would have given her, in fact he's going to give her, living water. So we have a wrong view. We can come to Jesus Often we will come and pray to God for stuff. Now, it's right to God, ask God for things. Jesus tells us, give us this day our daily bread. But if that's all we go to God for, we've missed it. God has got living water to give to us, something far greater than we imagine. And I think at that point we'll stop with this one. Just keep that thought. What are you going to God for? Because he's got something far greater for you and for me than we imagined. We can get so easily filled with the daily needs, especially at these sort of state the country's in at the moment. But God has something far greater for us. Amen.